Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Indio in California, where it is a very balmy 120 degrees outside. Actually, it's stinking hot out there, but it's only like about 11% humidity, so it's also very dry. Inside, we are at a very cool 93 degrees, which is good because it means the ACs are working, the Reflectix is working, because we are over 30 degrees cooler than we are outside, and the air conditioners are designed to be 15 to 20 degrees cooler than outside. So yes, it is a win today. Meant to be getting 114 tomorrow, I think, and I have a training class to do in the morning, so that's going to be fun. But hope you've all had a super fantastic sparkling Serenity Sunday. It's been a very up and down day emotionally wise. If you saw my one this morning, you'll know that it was 3 years ago today that Gus crossed the Rainbow Bridge, and emotions have been running rampant today, as I remember such an amazing dog, and then it's also Father's Day in New Zealand, so I can't be with my dad to celebrate that. So again, the emotions, and of course with Gus passing comes the fact that in 18 days it'll be 3 years since Brad transitioned, because there's only 18 days between the two, and thinking ahead of that also reminds me too that one of the things I used to do when Brad was in hospital is I would set my phone up on voice memo on my drive to the hospital, on my drive home, and then I would just talk. It would be my daily journal, it would be thoughts, it would be questions to ask the doctor, it would be answers from the day, what the doctors said, so it was sort of a recap of everything. There'd be thoughts while I was driving. I remember one drive, I come off the off-ramp to take a left turn to go to the hospital, and they had redone the whole bridge and everything else, and the lines were very, very clear, but the car in front of me did a left turn but didn't go all the way across the bridge to the lanes that they were supposed to drive in. They went into the lanes of the oncoming traffic and realized that, oh my gosh, we're in the wrong lanes, and so just moved over. There was no divider, it was all paint marks on the ground and everything else. So I actually talked about that on one of the voice recordings. But I remember a few days after Gus passed, before Brad came home, I was driving home, and it was one of those days that was slow with traffic. So instead of being like a 15-minute drive home, it was around about 40, 45 minutes, somewhere around there. And all of a sudden it hit me out of the blue, and I recall just screaming no, 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 and whacking the steering wheel. And at the time, while the whole time Brad was in hospital, I was driving his Yukon to and from the hospital. My thought was that if I took the Yukon, I had a vehicle to bring Brad home in. If I took Animal, it would be very cramped for Brad and very uncomfortable to bring him home in. And if I bought an Animal, then it meant Brad wasn't coming home. So I always took in Grover the Beast. That's what his Yukon was called. And with me every day. And that steering wheel got whacked so much this one particular day that I ended up hurting my wrist. And I remember having this drop down, drag it out conversation with God, and I was like, no, because it suddenly hit me out of the blue. Like, I'm talking about the stuff that happened with the doctor, and all of a sudden this thought just pops into my head and goes, and I was sort of like, no way, no. I had this sudden revelation that the reason I had gone through what I had with Gus was in preparation for Brad's transition. I was not ready for that. This is only just, I think it was less than a week after Gus had gone, after Gus had crossed the bridge. And I would have to go back to the recordings and find it. But I just started swearing up a storm, and yeah, the emotions were running raw. I was ripped open as far as emotions go. I was basically having a drag it out conversation with God, telling him I was not ready to let Brad go this year, and maybe next year when things had settled down a little bit, then I would be ready for that. But all of a sudden this little voice whispers in my head, this month, and that just, talk about a volcano going off in my head. There was, and I'm thankful to this day that there was very slow traffic, because I could barely see in front of me with the tears that were running down my face. I was swearing up a storm, and normally I don't curse as much as I did that day. I occasionally let the odd one slip here and there, but that was running rampant that day. And we had this conversation that I did not want to lose both of them in the same month, let alone the same year. I wasn't going to lose both of them in the same year, definitely not in the same month. I was not ready to handle it. No way, no how was that going to happen. And of course, a few days later, Brad transitioned. So despite and I remember getting home, I was so raw with emotions after that. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was at an empty house because Gus wasn't, I wasn't that empty. It was because Chris and Ash were there at the time. They were staying there, but I don't think they weren't home that day when I got home. They were out apartment hunting at the time. So I had the house to myself when I got home, and I was able to put the band-aids on, the emotions, get myself back under control for when they came home so that they didn't know anything about my thoughts going on that day. It was one of my hardest days during that whole 2 to 3 week period. First Gus going through the peacefulness of that, then having this revelation that I was being prepared for Brad's transition and not wanting it to happen in the same year, wanting to have, at least give me another 12 months with him. And then I hearing this little voice that says no this month, and that was it. I just lost it. I was like, no way, no how is that going to happen in the same month. I was determined it was not going to happen. I was going to do whatever it took to keep Brad alive for at least till the end of the year. I was determined. But of course that didn't happen. And so when Brad did transition, it was that whole conversation I'd had came flooding back with me as well. So the time between when Gus transitioned and Brad transitioned was a huge roller coaster for me, and then the roller coaster just went out of whack once Brad transitioned, because then I was just tumbling around. I don't remember much of the 3 months after Brad transitioned. I know my parents were there for the month of October with me, helping me get stuff sorted out. And then I had a week by myself, and then a friend came and stayed with me for a week to get my books up to date so I could send them off to the accountant. And then don't remember much of the rest of the year after that. I do remember having the worst experience at See's Candies ever, because Brad had started the tradition on my birthday to take me to See's Candies to get a pound of assorted chocolates of my choosing. And I went in on my birthday to do that and got the worst service ever. Didn't even get one free sample that day, and normally we ended up with 2 to 3 free samples. We got 0 that day. They were packed, they were overwhelmed. The girl serving me, she got told she had to go punch out because her time was up at work. So she's trying to finish me up. They said, no, leave it, we'll do it. It took them 5 to 10 minutes before they could finally find somebody free enough to come and finish off my order, and I was the next one standing at the cash register. So they were short staff and all of that, and they were clock watching with their employees. It was the worst experience ever. And then they wanted to wrap it in Christmas paper. I said, no, I want birthday paper, please. It's my birthday, and that's my box for my birthday. Didn't even acknowledge the fact it was my birthday. It just went. So there was a big roller coaster of emotions and everything going through me from when Gus crossed the Rainbow Bridge to between there and when Brad transitioned, and then after transition. And at times I still feel like there's this roller coaster thing going on. I feel like I've got more direction now than I had back then, but there's still days I wonder what path am I on, where the heck am I going, what am I supposed to be doing? So there's still those emotions that come up. And so another thing I did today was, because it was a year ago today, I went to the movies by myself for the first time since E.T. came out. Yes, you heard that right. When E.T. first came out in 1970, late 1970s, early 1980s, somewhere around there, that was the last time I went to the movies by myself. And so it was all those years later, when last year when I went to see Overcomer was the first time I'd been to the movies by myself. So I sat here, I have it on DVD. It's a really, really good movie, great message. I think I went through almost a box of tissues watching it, just because my emotions were running so up and down today, plus the message of the Overcomer as well. So watched that, did some training, got some training done for tomorrow because I got the pre-training stuff for tomorrow done. So yeah, we've been keeping cool, and Zeffie's out of her crate, look. Hey Zeffie girl. We've got the floor fan there that's swiveling. So she's getting that breeze, and she's also directly underneath the main vent there, which is pushing the air down on top of it. So she's found her cool spot. Definitely have to get her one of those cooling mats. I have to get her one of those because that's going to come in handy over time. But so yes, I've had being very gentle with myself today. Did some training first before I watched the movie, and just allowed myself to feel the emotions, and had lots of puppy hugs today since I can't hug Gus. So if you got lots of puppy hugs. So it's been a very interesting Serenity Sunday. So how was your Serenity Sunday? Did you find some peace and calmness today? Find craziness with family today? What sort of a Sunday did you have? Did you stay cool if you're in an area that's hot? I know I got warnings stating that that the whole San Diego area is now under a fire watch because of the hot winds coming through the area, as well as the high excessive temperatures. I'm like, great. I'm going to one of those areas where it's all trees, dry ground, lots of scrub. Great, that's where my camping ground is. So it's sort of like, eek. But the fire warning is supposed to end either tonight or tomorrow night. Can't remember which. But anyway, so that's been my Serenity Sunday. It's been a very emotional one, and we will be heading out shortly to go over to the dog park so that Zeffie can do her nightly run around. I try to, let's see, it's coming up at 6 o'clock, so I try to do it around 7:30, just as after the sun has gone down behind the hills while there is still daylight left and some of the heat's gone out of the sun, and carry her across the asphalt, which she's not so sure about. Although she doesn't resist when I bend down and pick her up and walk her across the road. Sometimes she resists when I pick her up, but that walking across the road, I just say, okay, don't want you burning your paws, and I just scoop down, pick her up, and walk across the road with her. And as soon as I get the other side, I put her down on the grass, and she doesn't struggle or fight with me on that one, which has been kind of cool. Sometimes she will fight when I pick her up, like, no, I don't want to be picked up. But then she'll just settle down and cuddle up against me, so I get my puppy hugs. But anyway, that's it from us for our Serenity Sunday. Hope you've had a super fantastic sparkling day, and we will catch you guys tomorrow morning. Trying to think what to do for tomorrow since it's Labor Day and most people won't be working. I do have a morning training session on, so I will be tied up for 4 hours for that. So I've got a very tight window to get up, shower, to dress, take her for her walk, get back, have breakfast, get on my first training call of the day, and then my next one starts an hour after the first one starts. And then that one goes for 4 hours. So it's going to be a very busy morning. So somewhere in amongst all of that, maybe we'll do one from the dog park tomorrow morning. But anyway, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we will catch you guys tomorrow. Hey, Conera.